Welcome. I'm Jerry Oginski, a medical malpractice trial lawyer practicing law here in the state of New York. Today's topic is going to be a little off the beaten path, and it's an informal discussion about an incident that happened to me a few years ago while I was bike riding. A few years ago, I decided to go for a bike ride after a long day of work. The weather was slightly overcast and cool, about 56 degrees, but nevertheless, I decided I needed to go bike riding. And for those of you who don't know me, I love to bike ride. I can bike ride for miles and miles and miles and have a great time, and try and do it as often as I can. It's great exercise, and you love seeing the scenery and everything around you while you're getting good exercise. Well, in any event, one day while I am completing up my ride, it had rained earlier that morning. And remember, for those of you who've been watching my videos, you know that when I talk about slip and fall cases, about things you need to know, you look to see what the weather was like that day and where the incident occurred. Well, in this particular case, I was biking up Middle Neck Road in Great Neck, and in the area where I was finishing up my ride happens to be 2 lanes of moving travel in each direction with parking on both sides. Happens to be the center of town. And as I was proceeding past Cedar Drive, which is controlled by a traffic light, I'm going about 12 miles an hour on a slight upgrade, and at the time I was riding close to the lines of parked cars. I didn't want to ride in the street. I wanted to stay away from traffic, and it was about 6 o'clock in the evening. When all of a sudden I am riding past a series of cars that are parked on the side, when a door gets flung open right in front of me. In an instant, I had absolutely no time to think. All I saw was a flash of a door flung open, and the next thing I knew, my body was flying through the air up over the handlebars, landing in the middle of the street. Thankfully, I'm able to say that there were no cars right behind me, because if there were, I would not be talking about this, and I would not have written a detailed article about my incident. Rather, the obituary editors would be writing this story. So I'm thankful for the fact that I'm still alive today. The problem was, the woman who opened up her car door never bothered to turn around and look to see whether anybody was behind her. She never bothered to look in her side view mirror to see if there's anybody behind her before opening up her door. So what happens? I get flung and go flying through the air, landing in the middle of the moving lane of travel on Middle Neck Road. I'm totally dazed. I was wearing a helmet, no question about it. I'm lying on the ground, and the only thing I can think of is what an idiot this woman was for not looking. I try and stand up to the best of my ability, and only then do I realize that I've got this massive pain in my right leg, in my thigh, where the door made contact with me. And I see the woman who got out, and I just start screaming loud curses at her. I could not believe that she opened her door. And I limped to the sidewalk where she was standing and could not understand how anybody could open their door without looking. What most amazed me is that there happened to be 2 women walking by the car on the sidewalk at the moment that I got hit. One of them had a look of extreme shock on her face, and her mouth was open. It was unbelievable. She looked at me and said, "Oh my God, I've never seen anything like that. You just flew right through the air and landed on the street." I didn't realize what had happened to me because I was still in a daze. And all of a sudden, the woman who was in a red Toyota convertible, 2-door, turned to me and started asking me questions like, "What are you doing? Why are you here? And, let me see your leg." And I was ready to roll up my pants to show her what had happened to my leg when I start looking at myself to see if all my body parts are attached. Thankfully they were, but now I started to realize that parts of my body were aching and hurting where they never before did. The woman who had her mouth open and said that she had never seen this before turned to the woman who opened her door and said, "Are you out of your mind? You're not a doctor. What are you asking him these things for? You're not going to help him by looking at his leg. He needs medical attention. He needs the police." The woman who opened the door turned to me and said, "I'll pay you for your trouble right now. How much do you think your trouble is worth?" And I just stood there not realizing what it was the woman was asking me. And I didn't comprehend what she was saying. The second witness who saw what happened turned around and said, "Don't you dare let this woman pay you off right here. You don't know what happened to you. You don't know how the injuries are going to affect you. And it was only then that I realized that I was involved in a significant accident, and this woman was trying to buy me off right then and there. At that point, I turned to the middle of the street where my bicycle was still laying, and traffic was now backed up behind me, behind the car, behind the bicycle, and saw that my bicycle was literally, my wheels were destroyed and folded over because of this accident. And it only dawned on me at that point what had happened to me. And at that point, I turned to the woman who caused this accident, and I said, "You don't understand what I do for a living. I am a medical malpractice and personal injury trial lawyer." At that point, all three women, the one who caused my accident and the two witnesses, dropped their mouths in astonishment and realized, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you just hit a personal injury attorney and are standing here trying to buy him off." I just couldn't believe it. Thankfully, the witness who mentioned this turned to me and said, "Don't you dare let her pay you for your injuries. Go home, get medical care, find out what the problem is, and at that point you can address it. But don't do it right now." And I am thankful for these two witnesses, people who I'd never met before in my life, gave me the right information. Because when you're involved in an accident, you don't have your wits about you and you don't recognize what the problem is until much later. And I have to tell you that as I grabbed my bike from the middle of the street and brought it to the sidewalk, I walked up to this woman again and I said, "You know what? I could understand if this accident was my fault. That would be totally understandable. But where you don't even look, where you didn't even glance to take the moment to check to see if anybody was coming. This could have been a car that was coming next to you and tore your door off effortlessly. But instead, you caused an accident that was totally preventable." I said, "That's horrendous." And with that, I left. And I wasn't able to walk back home. The witness, the one who saw me fly through the air, turned to me and said, "Come on, I'll put your bike in the back of my car and I'll take you home." And what's interesting is that I was on my way when I was finishing up my ride to go pick up Chinese food for my family to bring home dinner. And this witness, someone who I'd never met before in my life, said, "Come on, let's go to a Chinese restaurant, you can pick up your food and I'll take you home." 10 minutes later, she deposited me back at my home with my bike totally destroyed. I took it out of her trunk, put it on the steps, and all I could say was thank you. And that's the story of an incident that happened, and I thank you for joining me. I'm Jerry Oginski. Have a great day.